I'm pretty much sure that you have seen a lot of videos on YouTube of different people telling you this is the best Facebook ad structure for e-commerce brands, and this is the best Facebook ad structure over here, ABO, CBO, test, scale. So with this video, I basically want to answer finally, once and forever, this topic. So this is basically going to be the only video ever that you need to watch about Facebook ad strategy and whatever, because there is no specific ad strategy that applies to every brand, and that's exactly what I'm going to explain in this video. So what I'm going to do in this video is showing you the exact Facebook ads decisional metrics that we use in our agency to pick the best Facebook ad structure based on different brands when it comes to different niches, different products ranges, different AOVs and everything like this. So you basically can make the most accurate decision ever. And you don't have to watch absolutely any other video online when it comes to Facebook ads structure for e-commerce brands. Let's analyze the situation, and in this video I will basically go through everything that you see here, guys, plus also a lot of slides that I have in other presentation that I'm going to show you as well, and I will show you the 4 main strategies that you can use when it comes to Facebook ad structure for e-commerce brands, when to use different strategies based on budget, type of e-commerce, and I will definitely show you at the end of this video the internal metrics that we use with all the different elements. But before jumping in the metrics, there are some foundation that we need to cover here, because you need to understand why there are 4 different structures that we have drafted and why you should apply each different strategy in different cases. Otherwise, if you find a different situation, you will not be able to adapt this system to your case. There has been a huge change here. Before, it was an Advantage Shopping Plus campaign 10 months ago. Now this became an Advantage Sales Plus campaign. A couple of things changes. That means that now we can run an Advantage Shopping campaign as a sales campaign, and that can be done as an ABO or as a CBO. Okay, so we can still manage the budget, even though Meta is pushing a lot towards CBO, since even if you pick, when you pick ABO, it will, now they basically added like a checkbox that is going to tell you, hey, do you want to move the budget also to the other ad sets? So it's what, like a CBO? Like, anyways. Now, Meta released this new algorithm, and I have like analyzed all the different articles and everything, and the outcome overall is basically this one. Creative diversification is now the main performance lever, not manual targeting, which is something that was already like this before. But what changes now is that the diversification of creative doesn't mean change the color of the background. It means change completely your ads. So you cannot have the same ads, just change the headline. It's not gonna work. Meta still target the same people. So what Meta is gonna do now is gonna scale each single creatives towards the audiences that they target. Because what the algorithm does now basically is this one. They will basically divide, you put like 50 creatives inside one ad set, and then what Meta does, this algorithm basically is going to divide all the creatives inside different buckets and in sub buckets, and each buckets and sub buckets will target different audiences and sub audiences. So by having enough diversified creatives, your performance will basically improve, and this is the most important part, they will stay stable with time. You don't want to have the roller coaster, right? So this is actually something to consider. Now, what you basically need to understand based on the new Meta diversification strategy with Andromeda and everything, you don't need to split creatives between different angles and messages inside separate ad set anymore because of the new system. The AI automatically figure out which creative resonates more with different audience segments. You need to upload multiple creative variation within different teams and messages in the same Advantage Shopping Plus setup. Okay, and you can put them all inside the same ad set, even if you have different angles. Okay, because Meta is going to split anyways, and then the learning will happen at the ad set level. Now, this is going to be the metrics, and this is going to be based on this new algorithm in Meta Andromeda. So you must stay until the end of this video. But first, let me show you first a couple of results that we got using this strategy here. This one here, 50k spent, 4.72 return on the ad spend. This one here, 42k spent, 4.68 return on the ad spend. Here we have spent how much? Like in a month we spent 125. We were able to spend much more compared to the previous month. Here, this is a smaller account, we spent 5k, we got a 4.71 return on ad spend. So as you can see, this is working with smaller and bigger accounts as well. So how much we spend here? We spent 1 million over, almost the beginning of the year last year. So We have some skin in the game, we know what we're doing, and this new strategy works very well. You can watch my other video, but long story short, you can see the before and after. We went for a 4.68 return on ad spend in this account. This is 4.30. Then July, this is July, this one 4.68 was June. July, we have applied this strategy also to this new account. We followed the metrics, and we got 6.08 return on the ad spend in August. Let's have a look at the 4 core pillars when it comes to meta ads. And these pillars are very important because based on this pillar, you need to build the ad strategy, because you need to understand what meta wants. You need to play by meta rule if you actually want to succeed, right? So first, Meta's business model. Meta business model makes money. Meta makes money by selling impression to advertisers. So in order to sell impression, Meta needs to have impressions, right? And the inventory itself, the things that actually Meta sell, in order to have many impressions, Meta needs to have more people that spend more time on the platform, because it's not just more people, it's not just the reach, it's even the impression, right? And so more revenue for Meta. But at the same time, if advertisers don't convert impression into sales, Meta is not going to work, it's going to collapse, because the advertisers are not going to spend anymore on the platform. And so Meta needs to balance. Meta needs to balance between user experience and performance. User experience to keep people on the platform, of course, and performance to make the advertiser make money, right? Otherwise, there will not be any advertiser or no people on the platform. So what is the implication for us? The implication for us is that ads with high engagement plus good enough performance often get more budget allocated compared to pure high return on ad spend, but they get a little bit less engagement. So we must play by Meta's rule, and we need to balance this creative engagement with business results. Okay? Example, real case example, videos versus statics. Even if you get some statics, they still get a high top of funnel audience because the frequency is low. What you see is basically that Meta keeps spending money on the video, because the video gives you 2x return on ad spend, but the engagement is high. You're happy because 2x, you should be happy. But then you have the creatives of 4 5x. Meta is not going to spend budget there. Some people might say, oh, because of the scalability. Well, if the frequency is low, the static could be scalable as much as the video. It's not the creative itself. Yes, usually video tends to target more high top of funnel, so they could be more scalable. But it's not about the creative type. It's about the message. It's about the user awareness stage. If you're targeting the top of funnel area, which is like most of the audience stays there, with the static becomes scalable. And this is how we scale brand with static only. Like we had a lot of brands that we scaled only with statics. Pillar number 2 is basically the cost versus value. So we need to understand that when we run ads, we optimize for lowest cost, highest volume, which is the Meta standard bidding option. So lowest CPA is different from highest ROAS. What do you want? You want the lowest CPA or you want the highest ROAS? Based on this, you need to make the decisions. What does it mean? If you have one ad set with a CPA of 20, AOV of 40, you have another ad set with a CPA of 40 and AOV of 180, so you have 2x and 4.5x. Where do you think Meta is going to spend most of the budget? Here. To the one with the lowest ROAS. Why? Because his CPA is the lowest. So we don't have to put the same products or offer with different AOVs or different products within the same campaign. Otherwise, Meta is always going to push the cheaper product. That's why we need to split campaigns when it comes to different AOVs and different products. The third pillar is all about learning phase and stability. You need to have stability inside the account to keep a stable ROAS, not just a high ROAS for 1-2 days and then it goes down. Stability is given by learning phase, by number of creatives. Now, learning phase requires 50 events per week. So if you have a 50 CPA, you need to spend $357 per day, if the math is correct, to exceed the learning phase. But now the problem is that if you're spending below than 10K a month, it's going to be difficult for you, right? Unless you consolidate more. That's why for small budget, you need to consolidate campaigns and an ad set as much as possible compared to when you have a larger budget. Okay. Now, creative signals. Before Andromeda, you had to put same creatives, same angle inside the same ad set. So each single ad set, it will improve the targeting towards that audience, towards that angle. Now, it's not going to work like this anymore with Meta Andromeda. And so what is working right now is basically the opposite. Ad set learn from creative data. Now Andromeda can find the right audience for each specific ad within one ad set. So mixing different angles means more signals for the algorithm, so for the ad set, means bigger the audience that the ad set can target, means that we can increase more the budget because we can scale more the single ad set, means higher ROAS, more stability when increasing the budget, okay? So, more ads in one ad set, more data, better targeting, plus scaling, less ads in ad set, less data, lower ROAS. We don't need to worry about putting ads with different angles in different ad set anymore. So we can put just everything together. And creative diversification plus consolidation is now the key to success. This is basically the formula, guys. And Meta says itself, creative diversification refers to the practice of creative of wide range of ad creatives with different themes, messages, and visual. So if you use the same visual, you change the headline, it's not gonna be a diversification. Let's move forward and let's try to understand this. How many ads in each ad set? The concept is actually quite simple. The less ad set you have, the less data in the ad set, the less the targeting will be, the less performance will be, the lower the performance will be, right? The more ad set you have, better targeting. And the more diverse the ads are inside a single ad set, the more bigger will be the targeting within the ad set, like the actual potential reach of the audience within the ad set. It means that you ideally can have more sales, you can scale more the single ad set, you might have more stable ROAS because you have different ads that are scaling vertically within a single creative in their different audiences. So let's say you have this, which is better in this case? Is better the option, the scenario number 1 or the scenario number 2? Scenario number 1 is splitting ad set by different angles. Scenario number 2 is you have one ad set with a lot of different angles inside. Of course, the scenario number 2 is going to win in this case, especially because we are in the Andromeda period. And so scenario 2 will perform because you have more angles, a better scale, and more stable ROAS. Ad set 1 is too specific and goes against the newest Meta Andromeda algorithm. So before, when the Andromeda wasn't here, you can split it between managers. Now it's not like this anymore. So more different creatives is equal to better performance. I recommend splitting in different ad set videos and images and keeping between 10 minimum, really 10 is the bare minimum number of ads that you need to have inside one ad set. And the ads need to be different. Don't change the headline, okay? What I highly recommend you to do is to shape the entire design of the ad based on the target audience that you're going for and the messages, but I'm gonna keep this for another video just because it takes a lot of time to explain. Now, let me jump to the presentation so I can show you the metrics. Okay, so there are 4 main campaign structures that we need to use. The single ad set CBO, all creatives in one ad set. And this is just the names that I will identify these different strategies. And here is the explanation. I will keep the explanation also on the other slide, so you can always refer to it. Single ad set CBO, all creatives in one ad set, one campaign, one ad set, everything inside. Split campaign, CBO test and CBO or ABO to scale specific content. ABO plus CBO hybrid, so ABO for test and CBO for scale. Unified CBO test plus scale, same campaign. How these different campaign structure differentiate from each other? So to explain this, I use this graph where I basically show you guys the difference between the budget and efficiency. So this campaign here, ABO plus CBO hybrid, so ABO to test and CBO to scale, works very well when the budget is low, because when the budget is high, it's going to be too much difficult for you to manage everything, and Meta can just do it better than you. And what you rather need to focus on is analyze the creatives. The best scenario is to have the highest efficiency based on the budget that you're spending. Of course, low efficiency doesn't necessarily mean the lowest ROAS. So if the budget is low, we can control things, more control. Ideally, we can have a better output in terms of return on ad spend. But if the budget increases, our efficiency to manage the ads will decrease a lot. So if you keep the same campaign structure when you increase the budget, you're gonna mess things up. The ROAS will decrease because you cannot keep up. You're human, right? So you need to leverage Meta Machine to make things work much better, and you focus on creative strategy, because at that level, a high level of budget, ad spend, what matter really are the creatives, not the, controlling the single variables anymore. There are 2 things I mentioned before, budget and efficiency. Budget is how much money you're putting into Meta, of course, and efficiency is how much you're letting Meta algorithm work with clarity. Now, the budget. Impact is, the higher the budget, the more data you have, the faster the learning, but more complexity. Efficiency. Low efficiency means fragmented IBOs, campaigns, multiple ads, inconsistent signals, and more time spent to manage ads. High efficiency means consolidate campaigns, much clearer objectives, leverage Meta AI to save time, less time spent to manage the ads, focus more on the creatives and on the strategy. A low budget, you can sacrifice efficiency because you need to test, explore different things, right? But then a high budget, when you find the winners, you need to scale, cool, then inefficiency kills ROAS. So in order to keep ROAS good, you need to have the maximum efficiency. So how many ad sets you want ads? The maximum number of ads in one single ad set is 50. And so you need to have between 10 and 50 ads, because the more ads you have in one single ad set, the better the performance will be, especially after Meta newest algorithm, Andromeda. Okay, so finally we are at the metrics, and this is basically going to be the final Facebook ads account metrics that you should use. This is updated with the new Meta Andromeda algorithm you must use when you choose the best campaign structure for your brand. Remember, don't copy others. You need to find the best structure based on your situation, your brand, your number of products, and everything. So, what we have in these metrics, we have the number of products, and we have the ad spending, the ad budget. Now, if you have one product in the low budget, you can go for a single ad set CBO. Why? Because you need to make sure that you are consolidating all the data inside one single ad set. So you can find stability within that single ad sets, because you might reach a lot of events within 1 week, right? So you can increase the budget, and then this will help you to push towards the new phase, which is the medium budget phase. When it comes to medium budget, you can now start exploring the ABO per plus CBO hybrid approach. Why? Because you might need to test different things here, like for instance different offers, and so you might need to split manually, because when it comes to different AOB, you might need to start splitting things, but you don't want to start splitting by campaigns yet, otherwise it might be too confusing. Another thing that you can do here, if you don't have to test different offers, if it's still gonna be one product, you can just have the unified CBO. The difference between unified CPO and single ad set CBO is that the single ad set you have only one ad set, and then unified CBO you still have one CBO but different ad sets with different creatives. So you start spending more, you can add more ad set. When it comes to high budget, I suggest to do a split scaling approach. That means that you have one CBO that you can scale vertically, and while you scale this CBO that we can call it for test, at the same time, what I also want you to do is have another separate campaign where you put all the best performing creatives, one ad set, and then you scale that one as well. Because at this point, inside this campaign here in the CBO, you might have a lot of different ads. So between all the engagement, all the things going on, Meta might not really prioritize all the winning ads. And so what you can do, you can just duplicate them. Or if you don't want to use any complicated setup, you don't want to scale specific creatives, if the return on ad spend is also good, you can still go with the unified CBO setup. So just keep scaling the single CBO, keep adding more ad set. But split scaling might work if you see that engagement is basically messed up, a lot of different creatives inside a single campaign. Then, when it comes to multi-product, you should have single ad set CBO per product. Why? Because based on the thing that I mentioned before, you need to split your campaign by different products, because different products usually they have different AOBs, and so you're gonna have one single CBO campaign per product. So let's say you have 5 products, cool, you have one CBO for one product, another CBO for another product, another CBO for another product. Inside each CBO, one ad set. Inside each single ad set, you can have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 creatives. In the multi-product medium budget, then you want to start having a unified CBO per product. That means that you can start scaling within the same CBO, because you will basically need to add different ad sets at this point. Most probably, depends also on how many campaigns you actually have. And then you want to keep scaling this at high budget. Very simple, different campaign, one campaign for each product. Keep adding ad sets within the same campaign. So you go into the unified CBO campaign setup per product, per AOV, keep scaling, keep adding new creatives, new ad sets, and so on. Just make sure to don't have less than 10 creatives really in one ad set. I would rather tell you to add new creatives inside an existing ad set with 10 creatives rather than launch an ad set just with 10 creatives. So when you need to launch an ad set, put 20 creatives at least. Okay? If that ad set is going bad, learning phase, you can still add existing creatives in the same ad set that goes bad. You don't need to create a new ad sets. Then you're a fashion large catalog and you have a low budget. What you have to do, simple focus on 1 to 10 products, you can use any of these two strategy here basically. And if you have 30 to 1000 a day, 300 to 1000 a day, so a medium budget, you can start to explore a unified CPO per product or per product category. So you either do one CPO per product category, so like t-shirt, pants, or you can have one unified CPO based on your winning product design, t-shirt or hoodie design. It depends on your fashion store, or like jewelry store that we were talking about, because some fashion brands, they have a lot of different pieces. Other fashion brands focus specifically on some design. And you can start also having a dynamic catalog campaign. You can keep scaling this setup even if when your budget increases. The only thing that you might need to do here is maybe expand more into different product designs or into different product categories basically, and keep scaling also the catalog, because the more data you have inside the dynamic catalog campaign, the more this campaign will be optimized over time. And this is it for this video, guys. Hope you find it useful, and hope you will never mess anymore with your campaign structure. And if you want to have more details about the Meta Andromeda algorithm and all the other things around the new Meta system, just check my other videos in my YouTube channel. For this video, this is it. If you liked the video, remember to leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.